Hey guys, what is going on? It is, as you may have guessed at this point, Brooke, or the Undead DM, and I'm back at it again with another homebrew review for you today. And as you may have guessed by the title of this video, I'm going to be going over the subclasses for the Alchemist in the Volda's Spire of Secrets book by Mage Hand Press. Gonna go over their strengths, their weaknesses, what I think needs to be improved based on knowledge of the base class, and my overall thoughts. So stick around. So in this, there are 8 different subclasses, and we're gonna go by each one at a time, and see what we got here. So the first one we have is the Amorist, and the Amorist is basically the College of Glamour Bard, where their entire thing is um based around charming people. That's evident in the first level features, or the second level features, I apologize, where you gain proficiency in deception and persuasion, and you get a unique formula called the pheromone bomb, where you don't do any damage with it, and instead, the creature hit has to make a saving throw, a wisdom save, and if they fail, they are charmed until the end of its turn or until it takes damage. You also get, at 6th level, Magnetic Personality, where you can add your intelligence modifier to charisma checks that you make. Do note that this is all charisma checks, not just ones you're proficient in. Then you get Alchemical Perfume, where at 10th level, whenever a hostile creature within 5 feet of you makes an attack roll, they have to make a wisdom save or have disadvantage on the roll, and if they succeed, they are immune to the save. They are immune to this effect for 24 hours, and if they're immune, if they are immune to being charmed, they automatically save. And at 18th level, you get Alchemical Romance, where you can spend 4 reagent dice on a long rest to create a potion of true love. It acts like a filter of love, like the magical item, except that when you make the potion, you choose the creature the target regards as its true love, provided that the target knows the creature or meets it within 24 hours after consuming the potion. Additionally, the effects last indefinitely, ended only when you make a new potion of true love, or the effect is removed when they remove curse spell or similar magic. When the potion's effects are ended on a target, it regards the creature it once loved with total disgust and can never love that creature again. So, very flavorful subclass, I'll give it that much. But what confuses me is that it has no real support utility. So, with the pheromone bomb, sure they're charmed, but it's a very important wording here that the bomb deals no damage and instead causes the target as well as creatures within the blast radius that fail the save to be charmed by you until the end of its next turn, or until the end of its turn. Meaning, if you use an object action, use your pheromone bomb, and then you throw it at a goblin, and then 3 other goblins are in the blast radius, all 4 of them, if they fail, assuming they do, are charmed by you. Now, let's say the DM uses mob rules, and so all the goblins act at the same initiative order, and they go right after you. That means they're charmed by you for their turn, and then once their turn ends, the effect ends, because it's until the end of their turn. Not until their next turn, not until your next turn, their turn. This is basically not even a 1 round status effect. This is like a 1 creature status effect. It is quite literally a 1 turn because it only lasts for that creature's turn. I would consider this very useless because most creatures are immune to being charmed, and the fact that it does no damage on top of that is kind of a nail in the coffin. Yeah, it would suck if an effect charmed you and dealt damage, and then it would be like, well, does the damage from the effect cause the charm to break? And you'd have to be like, well, no, because it does damage first and then charms. But then that's just a simple, honestly, skill issue that you can't learn how to read. Because if it says it deals damage and then they have to make a save, otherwise be charmed, then that means the damage happens before the charm, therefore the charm can't be broken. Also, I think it's strange that it gives you proficiency in deception and persuasion, but doesn't have any stipulation if you already have proficiency in those two skills. So, if you choose this subclass and you already have proficiency in one of these two skills, you essentially don't get an additional second level feature. You get potent spell, essentially intelligence on charisma checks. I mean, it's fine, especially since this is an intelligence based character, but if imagining that you're building a character specifically to use this subclass, you're going to want those skills and your charisma to already be high. So you're most likely going to be lowering your intelligence more to make a suboptimal build. But assuming you're not, and you're putting your primary points into intelligence, and then your constitution to stay alive, or what have you, and then you're focusing on charisma, sure, whatever. Alchemical Perfume is basically just the 15th level paladin feature. I forget which subclass off the top of my head, but it's essentially the sanctuary spell, but slightly worse. And the alchemical romance is an interesting concept because it's a potion of true love that acts like a filter of love. And it doesn't state that they're charmed, but if I'm not mistaken, if I were to look it up very quickly, a filter of love, I think, does charm the target. If it doesn't, that means that this is just strictly better because it doesn't directly charm, it just makes them fall in love. Nope. Okay, so it acts like a filter. It acts like a filter, and the filter says the next time a creature within 10 minutes after drinking it becomes charmed. So, again, this subclass heavily relies on creatures not being immune to charm, which at this point, a lot of creatures, if not all creatures, are immune to charm. So, a little bit more defensiveness and more bonuses on the charms, maybe replace the 10th level feature or give it an additional feature that allows you to charm non charmable creatures. It's high enough level, who cares? Overall, not a very good subclass. Much like the College of Glamour, not very good. Apothecary, the obligatory healing subclass. So, you get proficiency in medicine, you get painkiller bomb. So, it deals no damage, and it grants each creature within its blast radius 1d8 plus your alchemist level temporary hit points, which lasts until the end of your next turn. And it has no effect on constructs or undead. You get potion toss. Apologies, I was taking a drink. Where you can use your action and hurl a potion at an unconscious or willing creature within 20 feet. And they gain the benefits of the potion as if they had drank it. At 10th level, you get self medication, where whenever you drink a potion that has the effect of restoring hit points, you gain advantage on saving throws until the end of your next turn as well. And at 18th level, you get Alchemical Resurrection. By using your action to mix 500 gold pieces worth of diamond dust into a potion of superior healing or a potion of supreme healing, you can create a potion of raised dead. You can pour it into a corpse that has been dead no longer than 10 days, and it acts as the raised dead spell. So again, why does the proficiencies at level 2 not give you a stipulation if you already have proficiency in the skill? The Painkiller Bomb, it dealing no damage makes sense. But since it's each creature within the blast radius and not each friendly or allied creature, is some might be detrimental, especially if you have to use a bonus action, or I think it was the use the object action. It was some kind of action requirement that you had to use in order to remove the blast radius from the bomb. Let's just double check on that real quick. Yeah, it's a bonus action. So, in order to heal a single creature, you as a apothecary have to use an object to apply the painkiller bomb formula to the bomb. Then you have to use your bonus action to remove the blast radius so it only affects the ally. And now you only have your action, which as an action, you might want to use Potion Toss. So you're essentially spending every turn as an apothecary, use an object to put painkiller bomb, bonus action to make it so it doesn't have a blast radius, and throwing the bomb. Or use an object, hurl the bomb at 2 or 3 allies, give them all d10 plus level temporary hit points, and then have your bonus action open to do something else, and then use your action to do something else, which is the optimal solution. Potion Toss is nice, especially since it's any potion, meaning you could just give somebody a potion of, like, Storm Giant Strength without them having to drink it. Self-medication. Seems a bit late to be getting an advantage on saving throws, especially when evasion is usually 1 level after Potion Toss, and it's on dex saves. And I think the Abjuration Wizard gets an ability like this, where they get advantage on the saving throws of spells, and they just get that permanently at a similar level. Seems a little bit late. I think something like this would have been good, like, in between the 2nd and 6th level, because you'll have a lot of cheap potions, and saving throws are a lot more detrimental at those earlier levels than they are at later levels. But that's just me. Alchemical Resurrection. Weird that it's called Resurrection, and yet it doesn't actually let you use the Resurrection spell. It's Raised Dead. Strange. It's very, very strange. Just change it to Resurrection. It's already 10 days. Why not just make it Resurrection? Who cares? Make it True Resurrection. Who cares? Overall, pretty mediocre healing subclass. And also, since none of these are spells, you can't really combo it with the Life Cleric at all. So, doesn't have that utility. Overall, I wouldn't recommend it. Just play Life Berry, and you'll be a lot better. Dynamo Engineer. So these are basically like the third casters. These are the third caster people. So you can cast the spell Detect Magic once per day, or once per short or long rest at 2nd level. Additionally, at 2nd level, you get spellcasting. And basically, the flavor is that you have spell dynamos instead of spell slots. And the spell level is equated to this. So similar to a 4th caster, or not a 4th caster, 3rd caster. They are a preparation-based spellcaster. And you know spells of certain levels, like usual. Intelligence is your spellcasting modifier. Ugh. Apologies. You know 3 first level wizard spells of your choice, 2 of which you must choose from the evocation and transmutation schools. And each of the spells must be an invocation or transmutation spell of your choice. And the spells you learn at 8th, 14th, and 20th level can be coming from any school of magic. So this is just a third caster. You could go ahead and pause and figure this all out. So dynamos are the number of spell slots you have, and this is the level of the slot. So all your slots are the same level. At 6th level, you get Arcano Bomb, which up to this point is very strange because every other subclass has gotten their bomb at level 2. So I don't know why this has to be delayed. So an Arcano Bomb deals force damage instead of fire as a D12 instead of a D10, and it deals an additional die of damage as if a reagent die were added to it, meaning that it technically does 2d12 damage, and if you put a reagent die into it, it does 3d12 instead of 2d10 like a normal bomb would do, which is pretty good for 6th level. But again, this would be a lot better if it was at 2nd level to be more in line with every other subclass. Counter Discharge at 10th level. Whenever a creature you can see casts a spell which would affect you, you can use your action to expend one of your spell dynamos. And if the spell requires to make a saving throw, you have advantage on the save, and the spell deals damage you have resistance. And once you use this, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. And Arcane Recycler at 18th level. When you miss with an Arcano Bomb, you can recycle the spell slot stored in the dynamo and transfer it to one of a number waiting empty dynamos on your person. Interesting. So basically, with Arcana Bomb, you have to expend one of your dynamos, so one of your spell slots, to do this, which I didn't know before. Again, I think it's very strange that they don't get their bomb at level 2, considering how they get spell dynamos here. And now reading the bomb, it is significantly worse because not only in order to apply a bomb formulae, you have to expend a use an object action, but now it does more damage, but now you don't have access to your spells because you'll have one less spell. So you'll be down to 2 first level spells as opposed to 3. For what? 2d12 damage in a 5-meter radius, or in a 5-foot radius. And at 18th level, if you miss with it, somehow, with your intelligence modifier, your dexterity modifier, archery fighting style, since it's a ranged weapon attack, or thrown weapon attack, you can go with thrown weapon fighting. If you somehow miss with it, you get to transfer the spell slot that you used into an empty dynamo. So I think just by the merit of having the wizard spell list and having evocation, which is the primary damage one, getting access to things like fireball, lightning bolt, and all that, and I think slow is transmutation as well. That is really, really good. So this is definitely one of the better ones. Though I can tell you right now, you'll probably never use your Arcano Bomb past like 5th level. You'll probably never use it past 6th level, maybe even 9th level if I'm gonna be honest. Because sacrificing one of your 4 just to deal an additional 1 damage on average, 2 damage on average, isn't that good. but it's definitely better than the other two we've seen so far. Mad Bomber. This is the bomb subclass, if you haven't figured that one out yet. Bombing specialty. Your bombs deal double damage to objects and structures. Additionally, you get Shrapnel Bomb, where a shrapnel bomb deals piercing damage instead of fire, as a D8 instead of a D10 in a D10, and it explodes in a 10-foot radius. Which, if you remember our previous episode on the base class review, there is a discovery that you can take which increases your blast radius to 10 feet. If you pick Mad Bomber, it doesn't say that it increases it by 5 feet, it says it increases it to 10, meaning that would be completely useless on this. If it was just an increase of 5 feet, that'd be a lot better for this subclass specifically. Timed demolition. Whenever you use the object action to prime a bomb and throw it, you can set a duration, which can be any number of rounds up to 1 minute. Following this duration, the bomb detonates at the end of your turn. No matter how many bombs detonate at once, a creature in more than one blast radius is only affected by one. So, no, unfortunately, no C4 stacking. You can't just stack the reflavored version of 3 C4 charges underneath one poor sap, blow them all up at the same time, and then have all 3 of them do loads of damage. You only get affected by one, which does suck, but it's quite funny. Blast Shield at 10th level. You gain resistance to your choice of acid, cold, fire, or lightning damage, and can change it whenever you finish a long rest. And you get something unique here, where at 18th level you get a formula called the Black Powder Bomb, where by replacing your bomb's explosive contents with black powder, it does a d12 damage. So, dealing double damage to objects and structures isn't really that impactful unless you're going for a type of D&D game in which you're going to be bobbing and weaving in and out of cover. The Shrapnel Bomb is interesting, as it does still lower the damage, but again, it's only lowering it by 1 on average, and it's in a 10-foot radius, so you can hit a lot more creatures. But if this did have the ability to like go through half and 3/4 cover, I think that'd make it a lot better of a bomb. Since shrapnel typically can go through certain objects. Time detonation, it does suck that it can't stack with itself. But the fact that you can have multiple people cast Delayed Blast Fireball, and the creature has to make 3 separate saves or take 3 separate instances of fire damage, seems unfair. That you, the lone person, can deal less damage than 2 or 3 wizards casting Delayed Blast Fireball, and you have to spend way more time, way more resources setting it all up. It does suck, but it does make sense because this is supposed to be like a supportish class. So having a damage focused subclass be less damaging makes sense, I guess. But I would still like this to the whole, no matter how many bombs, this whole last sentence to be removed. Blast Shield definitely needs to be a 6th level. This does not need to be a 10th level feature. Especially when certain subclasses, I think, oh man, it's escaping me right now, but one subclass or one class in the game gets access to the ability where they gain resistance to their choice of acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage, and they can choose it on a they can change it on a short or long rest. I think it's Rune Knight Fighter or something like that. If you guys know, leave in the comments down below. But the fact that they get that earlier and you get this at 10th level is very, very bad. And also, the 18th level feature is extremely weak. You just get an additional die. You just get an additional 1 point of damage on average. That's it. If this was like what the nuclear bomb was, for your Philosopher's Stone from the base class feature, that might have been an okay thing to give a subclass. But even then, I probably still wouldn't have considered the nuclear bomb to be a good capstone feature. Overall, I'm gonna put this like between, like, above the other two subclasses because at least it can deal damage. But the Dynamo Engineer is still much better. Like, that's just so much better because of the spells. The Mutagenist. So you gain proficiency in either athletics or acrobatics, and you also gain proficiency of shields. And it's also at second level you get Mutagen, where you gain one of the following benefits for a minute, or until you use a bonus action to inject yourself with a different mutagen. You can either you get strength. Your strength score increases by 3 to a maximum of 20. And you sprout claws, fangs, spines, horns, or a different natural weapon of your choice. They can be used instead of unarmed strikes. They deal a d4 of your strength modifier instead of the bludgeoning damage for a normal unarmed strike. And the attack is bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage that would be appropriate for the natural weapon. You can choose dexterity, where you increase your dexterity score by 3 to a maximum of 20 and gain plus 5 movement speed, or constitution, where you get a plus 3 to your constitution score to a maximum of 20, and your current and hit point maximums are increased accordingly with your new constitution score, but when the effect ends, both decrease by the same amount. We're going to get back to that. I have some problems with that. So, shared mutagen at 6th level. You can use your action and spend a reagent die to inject a willing creature within 5 feet of you with a mutagen of your choice. They can only be under the effect of one mutagen at a time, and once you've injected another creature with a mutagen, you can't do so again until the original mutagen ends. At 10th level, you get Advanced Mutagen, where whenever you inject yourself with a mutagen, you could choose one of these in addition to the other three. Hyper Elastic, where your melee weapon attacks gain the reach property if they didn't have them already, and you have advantage on ability checks to escape grapples or slip binds. I can't pronounce that word. Mucilaginous, where you can move up, down, and across vertical surfaces and upside down along ceilings while leaving your hands free. You have a climbing speed equal to your walking speed, and creatures have disadvantage on ability checks made to escape grapple with you. And Polybrachia, where you grow a pair of additional arms. They're fully functioning, can hold weapons and shields, allowing you to hold 2 two-handed weapons or 4 one-handed weapons, perform somatic components, and perform other actions, though the arms themselves don't grant you additional actions. And at 18th level, you get Mutated Blood, where you choose Strength, Dexterity, or Constitution. The ability score increases by 2 to a maximum of 22, and once you have chosen, it cannot be altered. Overall, this is a lot weaker than I thought it was going to be, because I thought this was going to be something akin to the Mutagenist, or whatever that subclass for the Blood Hunter is called, where you got to pick different mutagens and gain the effects, and you could flush them out of your system. Which is strange that they didn't do something similar to that, since the Blood Hunter, even the 2018 version, had been out before this. So the fact they didn't go for that makes it very strange. Additionally, the fact that the baseline mutagens increase your score by 3, and the Constitution one messing with your HP is a bit strange. But I guess increasing your maximum hit points isn't that strange since the aid spell does the same thing. But it is a bit strange that it affects your current HP too instead of just your maximum. If it just affected your maximum, I think that'd be fine. Shared mutagen, you have to expend your action and a reagent die. I think just making it require an action was enough, because that's already one thing you can't use your action for. Even better if it was just your bonus action, but I guess if you're using your bomb If you're using like a bomb that has an area of effect that you don't want to have an area of effect, you have to use your object, then use a bonus action to get rid of the blast radius, and then you can use your action to use a shared mutagen. That would definitely be a lot better. The advanced mutagens, hyperelastic giving you reach is really good because having a 10-foot reach with a bigger weapon, with a decent sized weapon is nice. Mucilaginous is alright, I guess. And Polybrachia. This would be very nice if the effects of shields stacked, which they don't. But I guess being able to hold more than one weapon is nice, because that means you can effectively take Dexterity, and then take Polybrachia, and then at Mutated Blood, you could make your Dex score increase by 2, and become really good with range, like just crossbows in general. But overall, this is definitely below the Mad Bomber. I think, because this doesn't help you or your allies very much. It's definitely more supportive, but since it affects the scores, and each effect only lasts for a minute, and the one you'd actually want, which is Constitution, doesn't actually give you a bonus to your concentration checks, Constitution saves at all. The fact that none of these affect your saves or checks in any way does kind of hinder it a bit. And also, they don't give you an option for Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma, which is strange. This is also the only subclass that doesn't get a bomb. I've noticed that. It's the only subclass that doesn't get a bomb at level 2 so far. But yeah, this is definitely below Mad Bomber and Dynamo. But it's above Amorist and the other one. The Apothecary. There we go. Couldn't think of the word. Ooze Rancher. This is just, you have oozes. You're a guy who has oozes in jars. Have fun. So, whenever an ooze tries to attack you, they have to make a wisdom save. And on a failed save, they miss. On a successful one, they're immune for 24 hours. So it's kind of better Sanctuary, because it's not just they have disadvantage or they have to choose to attack somebody else if they fail. They just straight up miss. Doesn't matter what they roll to hit. If they crit you, they have to roll a save. And if they fail the save, that crit goes to waste. Slime Bomb. A slime bomb does no damage, but coats each creature in the blast radius in green slime. No creature coated in the slime can take the dash or disengage action, and a creature can remove the slime by being doused with a gallon of water or by taking an action to remove most of it. Bottled oozes. Whenever you brew potions, you can spend 2 reagent dice to create an ooze bottle, which we will get to when we get to the items. Liquid anatomy. As a result of you messing with oozes, you can move through any space as narrow as 1 inch wide, and you take no additional damage from critical hits. So you essentially turn all crits into normal hits. And at 18th level, you get the Ooze Jug, where you have one Ooze Jug, which functions like an ooze bottle, but contains a larger ooze. You can only have one Ooze Jug at a time, and it can only contain one ooze at a time. And whenever you brew potions, you could fill it with whatever kind of ooze you want. You got the ochre jelly, the gelatinous cube, or the black pudding for 4, 8, and 10 reagent dice, respectively. So, this is very situational. Very, very situational. The ooze empathy isn't really going to come up unless you're constantly going to be fighting with oozes. It's basically a ribbon feature. The slime bomb, making so that creatures can't get away from you, is a nice debuff. But the fact that it also does no acid damage, despite what the ooze jug says, like where you get a black pudding and a gelatinous cube, which do acid damage, I'd make it at least do acid damage. Maybe I'd take even a D6, D8, make it do acid damage, and like every turn that they don't remove it, they take acid damage. Bottled oozes, you gain an ooze bottle, which I said we're gonna get to once we get to that section. But it's basically just a bottle where you can hold like a gray ooze. It's pretty simple. It's just a little pet ooze, and it does whatever you say. Liquid anatomy, being able to squeeze through 1 inch spaces, not gonna help you all that much in combat, but it is very nice to if you're in tight spaces like a cave or a castle where all the doors are closed and you need to like heal. You could just slip underneath the door crack and pop a healing potion. And also, since it doesn't take your action, uh, it also does say that your equipment doesn't compress with you, which does suck. But if you had a very lenient DM who was like, yeah, no, your clothes go with you, then you could possibly be knocked really, really low, slip underneath a door, slip underneath between the floorboards of wood, and then just heal, and then they can't stop you. In the ooze jug, being able to choose between these, you use the same stat block. They obey your commands because it's basically just an ooze bottle. It's not that bad. I'd probably put this up below the Mad Bomber, but above the Mutagenist. The utility of having the equivalent of a summon isn't that bad. Here's where I think is gonna get one of the worst: the Venom Smith. You deal with poisons and venom. At second level, you gain the Poisoner Discovery, and until you reach third level, you have 2 reagent dice, which can only be spent on crafting poisons. And you can't replace the discovery with a different one. And whenever you deal poison damage to a creature, you ignore resistance to poison damage, and you treat immunity to poison as resistance instead dealing half damage. And at second level, you get a Venom Bomb. So you make it deal poison instead of fire, a D8 instead of a D10, a con save instead of a dex save, and the target, as well as each creature within the blast radius, has disadvantage on the next strength, dexterity, or con save it makes before the end of its turn, if they fail. So each creature, as well as the one you hit, gets dealt D8 poison damage that ignores their resistance and treats their immunity as resistance. And if they fail the dex or they fail the con save, they have disadvantage on their next physical check or their physical save. So strength, dex, and con. Meaning this is really good for somebody who wants to support their allies who have a lot of dex-based spells. Which, spoiler alert, a lot of spells require a dex save. Alchemical Assassin. You have advantage on dexterity sleight of hand checks made to add ingested poisons to a food or drink, to apply poison to a weapon you are holding without being seen, or place a vial of poison on another person without them noticing. Mithridatism, which, interesting little factoid. Mithridatism is named after Mithridates, which is a person you can look up. He died in a very hilarious way. So you are immune to poison damage and cannot be poisoned. And at 18th level, you get Toxic Response. Whenever a creature within 5 feet of you hits you with a melee weapon attack, or with a melee attack, you can use your action to spray poison at them. You have to make a con save against your bomb save DC or be poisoned for 1 minute. And while poisoned, they take a d10 poison damage at the start of each of their turns, and a poison creature can repeat the save to end it, and they end it on a success, and they can make the save at the end of each of their turns. So, Poisoner, giving you 2 free reagent dice just to use on the Poisoner Discovery. If I didn't mention that before, you can only use these reagent dice on the Poisoner Discovery that this gives you, and the fact you can never change it makes sense. It does make sense, but at that point, I wouldn't even have just given the poisoner discovery. I wouldn't even have made it a discovery to begin with. I would have just made it a unique thing to this subclass instead of allowing everyone to take it. I'd say just remove the poisoner discovery and make the effects of the poisoner discovery in the Venom Smith itself, as opposed to having it be a discovery that everyone can take. The Venom Bomb, it's okay. At least it does damage, and it does offer good effect. Alchemical Assassin, definitely a ribbon feature. Mithridatism, this could have definitely been where Alchemical Assassin was, because at this point in time, poisons and poison damage isn't gonna be affecting you all that much. So having it be a 10th level feature is a bit late, I think. I don't know. That might just be me. And Toxic Response. This is definitely what I think Venom Bomb should have been, where it damaged them each time, and this could have been something different. Or it's not Toxic Response, it's Toxic Recompense. I apologize. And also, it can end the effect on a save as opposed to just having it be for a minute is a bit sad. And I think we're coming, yep, this is the last subclass. The Xeno Alchemist. You're basically the skin grafter. So, when you choose this subclass at level 2, you have advantage on all ability checks you make to identify or research monsters. At level 2, you get Mad Scientist, where you gain 2 monstrous graphs of your choice, and you don't lose hit points or hit dice from installing or removing graphs, and it takes you no time to recover after the attachment of new graphs. So, see Appendix C for monster graphs. Surgical attack at 6th level. Whenever you take the attack action or use an object action on your turn, you can make an unarmed strike. You can only use this ability if your unarmed strike is improved by a graph, such as bestial features. At 10th level, you get necromantic organs, where if you drop to 0 hit points and don't die outright, you drop to 1 hit point instead, once per long rest. And at 18th level, you get It's Alive, where you can create a golem after 8 hours of during a long rest, and you must have a healer's kit, alchemist supplies, and a knife, or a facility which has access to the tools, as well as at least 3 recently deceased humanoid corpses. It acts independently on its own turn. It obeys your commands. On each of your turns, you can use a bonus action to command it within 60 feet of you. You decide what action the golem will take and where it will move during its turn, or you can issue a general command such as guard a particular chamber or corridor. And if you issue no commands, it will defend itself, and once given an order, the golem continues to follow it. When the alchemy golem drops to 0 hit points, it dies, and you can restore your alchemy golem's hit points and reanimate it over the course of a short or long rest. And you can attach up to 3 graphs to your alchemy golem, and you can only have 1 golem at a time. So the golem has 13 armor, 76 hit points, or 76 hit points on average, 30 feet movement speed, 17 strength, 9 dex, 18 con, 6 intelligence, 10 wisdom, 5 charisma. It's resistant to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magic and non-adamantine weapons. It's immune to charm, exhaust, frighten, paralyze, petrified, and poison. It has dark vision out to 60 feet and a passive perception of 13. It understands any language, or it understands the language of its creator, but it cannot speak itself. It is considered a challenge rating 5 creature. And whenever it gets aversion to fire, where it gains disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls until the end of its next turn whenever it takes fire damage. Immutable form, where its form cannot be changed or altered. Lightning absorption. Whenever it takes lightning damage, it takes no damage instead, and regains hit points equal to half the damage it was dealt. It gains magical resistance, where it has advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. Monstrous Grafts, where the golem's weapon attacks, including monstrous grafts added, are magical, and they have a +6 attack bonus, deals twice the normal damage dice, and can add 5 to damage rolls to the alchemical golem, or 5 damage to rolls, and the alchemical golem can only have 1 graph in each slot. It has the multi-attack action where it could take 2 attacks, and the baseline slam attack is a +6 to hit that deals 2d8 plus 3 bludgeoning damage. Overall, I think this is above the Mad Bomber because it just gives you a body on the field. And sure, the body isn't that good, but once we get to the graphs, that will definitely change. Because I know I've seen the graphs; they are pretty decent, especially since you could put them on this, and it's just a free body. So free grapples, free damage absorption. Overall, I don't think a lot needs to be changed here. I also did notice that this is another one of those subclasses that doesn't get a bomb. But since you are essentially getting this, a golem, it's fine. But I would definitely have liked the golem to be earlier. So golem uh could have definitely been the 6th level feature, and it could have gotten better as it leveled up, or even better. Uh, you could have made the golem a part of the 2nd level, and then kept everything else, and then made the 18th level a lot better. Because right now, at 18th level, getting a challenge rating 5 creature at level 20, ooh, it's kind of bad. It's really, really bad. But the graphs might change that. The graphs might change that. So overall, in terms of the ranking, the top one is definitely the Dynamo Engineer, solely based on the spells that it gets access to. Then will be the Xeno Alchemist, because of its golem and the graphs, as well as the customizability of it. Then we'll go Mad Bomber for its damage output. And then we will go with the Venom Smith, the Apothecary, and then the Amorist at last place. Overall, subclasses I feel are very hit and miss. Either they're really, really good, like the Dynamo and the Xeno Alchemist, or they're really bad, like the Amorist and the Apothecary. Overall, the Alchemist is definitely on the lower end of B tier. It's not a good class. Its subclasses don't really help it all that much. It doesn't. It has a lot of options, but a lot of the options either really suck or don't do anything. And it seems like it's definitely just becoming a bomb spammer with damage output, especially since the base class doesn't have any sort of healing option outside of the apothecary. I think each one having a unique bomb to themselves is nice, but if you're gonna create a support class, you definitely need to give it a sort of healing component as just a baseline option, and then have the apothecary enhance it. So that was the first class in Bold Spire of Secrets. Tune in next time where we're gonna go over the captain, which is this edition's version of a warlord from 4th edition. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all in the next episode of Homebrew Review. Please stick around. Latest.